Hey, everybody, and we're back with another super awesome, fun time podcast with a good friend of mine who I don't know too well, but we're kind of big fans of each other's work. Uh, my friend Joe
Thanks, man.
from Ohio.
Yeah, that's me. I'm here in Columbus, Ohio. Uh, Great to meet you, man. This is my first time seeing you face to face.
Yeah, it's true,
Well,
huh?
through the internets, but
Well, I have a mutual respect for you because you do amazing things on your own. I've seen you do all kinds of woodworking in your garage and stuff, and I've also seen your music and all the instruments that you play, and I'm pretty impressed, honestly. And there, I
well,
mean, and you know what's going on in the world more so than most people, which is it's also very good to see.
well, thanks, man. I'm trying, but yeah, I loved your music. I mean, I've told you a couple times, but uh, you've re-inspired or renewed my faith in humanity, faith in music, faith in non-garbage music out there. I don't know how to say it, but really appreciate your tunes, man. I found them on YouTube. Might have been 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It's great, man.
Randomly found. But yeah, I don't know. With these people like us just find each other. You magnetize towards people that have the same kind of idea about what life should be about or what music should be about and stuff. And that's why when I started traveling, I just met so many people immediately that you shared idealism with. Like
Mhm.
everybody in my circle, like doesn't like the police at all. It's like not even a question that the police are not your friend. And so I ask everybody that comes on the podcast, do you like police?
Man, I like that Woody Guthrie line. So when you die and go to heaven, there'll be no policeman there.
Yeah.
and and
I
that's kind of funny. A lot of people can't think about like I've seen cops talk about. Well, in an ideal world, in an ideal world, you don't exist, buddy. Like we don't need you in an ideal world.
yeah.
Um,
What's your experience out there with the police? Because I know I've been pulled over in that neck of the woods, and it's been pretty ugly.
Uh, I've been fortunate grew since I like grew up and got a beard. I haven't been hassled by police or anything, but I've just been fortunate, you know. And I change my if a light burns out, I try not to have a burnout headlight and get pulled over. Yeah, but I know that the police hassle people here too. So I mean, just because I'm not hassled doesn't mean everything's okay.
Right. You get the
So
sensation around you that other people, you've heard stories from other people.
yeah, yeah. And it's different. There's Columbus police, and then there's the suburbs and the suburb police, and then you get your like Ohio State University. There's I don't know how many students, 75,000 students or something in the middle of Columbus, and then you have their like security people, and it's they no homeless people hang out on campus. They hang out right across from campus because they push them out there, you know. And I've talked to like traveler kids. Uh, there was a couple guys that were traveling. I forget from where to where. They had a uh, so one guy had a backpack. Well, I'll tell a little story anyway. I'm not homeless. Haven't done any homeless traveling, but these two homeless guys I met, they were traveling, hanging out at OSU across the street. The OSU security guys were trying to get them to leave. They didn't want them hanging out there. It's been too long or something. So they offered to buy them a bus ticket to Pittsburgh to leave. You know, so they got them a bus ticket. So I ended up meeting them, and they said, "Yeah, we got a bus ticket." And they wanted to drive us to the bus station and make us wait till the night. And we said, "Hell no!" And then they tried to say, "And you can't come back." And we're like, "What the hell's that?" So anyway, these two homeless guys I met, they were helping a third guy. This is about 3 years ago. A third guy, a friend of theirs, who had just been beat up by actual neo-Nazi crackheads, and he had like a knife wound and a broken arm. And the two traveler buddies, that one of them had helped kind of bandage the guy's arm, wrap it up, make a kind of makeshift, splint or something like, or just a sling. And he was pretty knowledgeable, and he was kind of like a doctor of their little group. And yeah, he also had a bag full of crystals, and he gave me a couple crystals, rolled or no anthraxolite, and another, maybe it was a rolled amethyst. I run into people that have crystals, and they give me, I don't I don't know why, but anyway. Yeah, so he was hassled by the police. So if you're not homeless, you're not hassled, but if you do certain things, you can get hassled. And if you look poor or black in the wrong place, then you get hassled. So,
Huh. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's funny that those kids always carry shiny rocks, no matter where they go. And it's like a form of payment a lot of times. The closer you get to California, too, it's incredible the amount of shiny rock culture. I never got into it myself, but you'd have friends from California go out to Quartzsite, Arizona, right on the border of California, and go and work the Gem Show, which is like this international shiny rock convention out in the boonies or whatever. And there's a lot of shady characters out there selling their rocks and sort of trying to get free labor out of people, but at the same time, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have people be so into geology,
Well, it's something that's real. It's something that is, you can't sell it on Amazon, like a one-of-a-kind, naturally occurring, rolled amethyst or something, like an amethyst that makes a 90-degree angle. I don't know rocks myself. I don't know why I'm bringing them up, but it's real.
It's real.
It's something that I don't think today we don't know how to tell shit from shinola, or we're not taught to learn how to do it. I mean, we're fed garbage and told to like it.
Yeah, that in every way, psychologically, nutrition-wise, they've gotten us to be okay with subsisting on a low-protein gruel of every kind, to where our souls and our stomachs are basically full, but it has no nutrition.
Yeah, that's it just made me think. I lived in Turkey for 7 years. And I used to go, I had a friend, we'd go around, explore the city, whatever. And he collected, or he knew all about oils and things like that. And we went to the Spice Bazaar in the middle of town there. And he bought some rose oil that came from a certain town in Turkey. And it was really expensive. I mean, it's like, you're talking like drugs, you're talking like this much. And it's like $100, right?
Wow.
And he's buying this shit from, it's an unmarked container, or it's just a glass, could be any. He's smelling it, and yep, that's the stuff, and he buys it, And to me, that's like, I feel like that's something really lost, man.
Yeah.
Like no, I don't care. Like, well, what package is on it? What, what, like here I got some seeds. Some organic,
beets,
non-GMO seeds, but look at all this crap on the paper. It's got a barcode and all this.
That we should have never went down this path where we commercialized farming or whatever, like they haven't done in places like Morocco or Mexico or whatever.
Mm.
And it was Turkey the same? Is this a place where people can grow their own stuff and go kind of sell it?
Yeah, Turkey. So I went there in 2000. When I moved there in 2006, and at that time it was like I was teaching English to Turkish kids. English is a second language, so they study English their whole life, and then they get accepted to college, and they have a whole year of just learning English because they haven't learned it yet for some reason. And so in Turkey, where's it going with that? Am I getting sidetracked already, man?
Oh, like I asked you about if agriculture was still like a cultural thing.
All right. Sorry. So these kids, they would apologize. Turkey is a developing country. America is a developed country. Turkey is just a developing country. So we're not like you and XYZ. But actually, they're the way that they're not developed is makes them richer than us, and they don't know it. Like every street in Istanbul, once a week, or not, many streets, once a week, they'll block off the street, and they'll put like poles up and canvas, and they'll just cover the street, and somebody from whatever village from 20 miles away or 100 miles away, they'll drive their truck in and sell their vegetables every week. Like low tech, you're buying from the farmer.
Yeah.
I'd buy milk. There was a guy that sold it. His milk was usually bad by the time I got it home and boiled it because he had a bad fridge. There was one place with good milk, but they always ran out. And then there was a guy that sold milk out of the back of his station wagon from 20 miles away. He had this giant metal container, and he'd fill up a bag of milk for you and take that, and they think that this is like, we're underdeveloped, and, this is because we still suck. We're not like you guys with your machines, and, when, no, that's the best. Like,
Yeah.
that is healthy. That is good. That's,
We can't simplify all these processes to where we have, factory made everything. It's just and then the quality suffers. But the population booms, and they still are. They adapt to subsist on lower and lower quality foods. I think that's what we're seeing right now in the United States. But Turkey sounds incredibly interesting as far as that goes. Like they kind of like a lot of freedom there on that in that way, right?
Right. It's funny, talking about freedom. I mean, like there's so many things in Turkey you could do and it'd just be ignored, which makes you more free than in America, where you can't do that. Like half the buildings in Turkey are illegal. And sometimes it's 10-story, 10-story buildings with apartments everywhere, and that's illegal. And then they have to do bribes afterwards, and they whatever. Or sometimes like people move into Istanbul and they'll just build a bunch of houses, like their own houses, and then they'll elect a politician that gives them their houses.
Wow.
I mean, if everything's, it's just funny, man. Like the rules don't make sense when only half people follow them. If only half people have to follow it, so it's a totally different mentality. Like,
you don't have laws. You have this like separate set of optional, requests.
Yeah, but you have other things like, well, and Turkey's so complex, and I don't know where to start, but like, so Istanbul, you used to have 100 years ago, or let's say 30, 40 years ago, Istanbul was a more like, you didn't have all these people that moved in from the east, from the villages, and from, they have like, so you had this huge boom with, I guess, when they built factories and needed workers, and all these people came to town, and you had kind of like a cultured city folk, like the Istanbul people were like pretty chill, and they anyway, a friend of mine, he told me this story. He lived outside of Istanbul, and his grandfather had he had grapevines planted everywhere, like fields of, I guess, so grapes everywhere and fruit trees here or there.
Nice.
And everyone kind of knew whose land was what, or whose grapes were who. Like, here's the valley, my side of the valley is mine, and yours, you get the other side of the valley, and that's where the border is. And everyone kind of knew how to do it. But then these people moved in from the country, and they move in. The first thing they do, they build a few houses and they build a mosque, which is kind of nice. It's like they're religious and they value it and they put effort into it and they support it. But then the next thing they do is, like, after that winter was over, all the grapevines were cut down. Yeah. And some of them were like 30-year-old grapevines, right? And so this guy asks them, why did you guys cut down all these grapevines? And they said, well, you didn't have a fence around it.
Oh my God.
Like, it's free game. Like, hey, everyone knows that. If you put a fence around it, we wouldn't have touched it, but you didn't have a fence. So it's, it's your fault, basically. And they said, well, before you assholes showed up here, we didn't need a fence, so why? Man, that's just like, there's so many conflicts in Turkey, so many contradictions. That's just one of them. Like, I don't know where to start.
Where's the what is the main religion, and what are the other religions, and how many are there?
Yeah. So, I mean, Turkey's like 99% Sunni Muslim or something like that. But it's really hard. It's really not that. I mean, you, wow. So there's many different groups in Turkey. You have like, well, I studied Islam in school and I became Muslim when I was about 18. And so, uh, wow, where to begin? So much. Well, Turkey, there's Sunni Muslim and Sunnis. There's four schools of Islam in like standard Orthodox Islam, and so Turkey, they're Hanafi Sunni Islam, which is like their official version of Islam, and Turkey's secular like France, I guess, which means it's not like America. We say secular means separate church and state.
Mm-hmm.
In Turkey, they have a Department of Religion. They call themselves a secular country, but all their imams and all the mosques are paid by the government, and they have a Department of Religion, and they issue like all the stuff that the imams say, and they all just like read what the government tells them to read, and they call that secular somehow. But there's there's pressure to just be like everybody else in Turkey, whether it's in school. So if you're not allowed. Well, my wife, she grew up speaking a different language, Zaza, which is, or Zazaki, they say. It's not Kurdish. It's a different language. It's related to Kurdish or Persian, but
Cool.
it's as far removed. It's closer to Persian than it is to Kurdish. So it's not like a kind of Kurdish. It's not like Spanish is a kind of Italian or something.
Wow.
Spanish isn't a kind of French,
Right.
but Kurds, oftentimes they lump Zaza and say that they're Kurds.
Huh.
So you have all these groups in Turkey, and so Kurds want to have their state. And then when they get their state, well, Turkey got their state. Kurds never got a state. So Kurds in Turkey were just told, you're mountain Turks, Yeah, you're Kurds, but you're really Turks. You're mountain Turks. And we're all Turks, and everything's great. And then everyone gets on the standard education plan of Turkish language. You go to school, you're not allowed to speak any other language at school, or they slap you or whatever. So everyone learns Turkish. So the Kurds, they want a state, and they have this huge communist Kurdish group, and they want to do the same thing with Kurdish, that, they're going to have a mono Kurdish thing, and they're going to say this is Kurdish, and it's going to get rid of all the other identities, So I can't support any movement, I can't support like any Kurdish movement, I support people, I guess, and freedom, but I can't support like this or that nation or tribe making a big state for themselves as if that's the solution to.
But also,
Yeah.
the solution would be ultimately to let people learn whatever languages are in the region. Like, why not just, if these people live over there and they prefer to speak that, then just to be a nice person, you would say, well, I'll learn a bit of French before I go to France, or something like that. Like, to
Yeah.
teach it in schools or something would actually be the empathetic solution to the thing. But the thing is, the states want they want to pound a certain idealism into our heads, and any subculture that doesn't go with that or doesn't accentuate those values, they want to squash it out and get rid of it, And there are so many things that are not conducive to fucking capitalism, and they drive these people into the ground. People that by religious standards don't want to work as hard, or want to just live off the land and be hermits, or just be separated from the social pressures of society. Those people are considered enemies. Like, the hermit is considered one of the greatest enemies of organized society.
Right.
And it's a shame that you have to keep fighting against that, when you could just sort of embrace other cultures and like maybe pick out the good things from it, encourage the good things from it. But that's not how we do. We come in with an iron fist and we say, no, you're not going to learn You're going to learn our language, and you're going to stand up and you're going to praise our God and our flag if you're going to live in this geography.
Man, that's like, it's helpful to leave your country just to help get perspective. Not that you have to, but it really helps you get perspective on. Everyone says that we're the greatest, bravest, strongest, whatever, and I mean, everyone has the same hero stories about their founders and then you learn history, actual history, and you find, yeah.
Yeah, and it takes a little bit of history reading, and then you go to another country and stay there and understand what the troubles that they go through. And when you do that, you eventually get to step back and see, well, what things are universal among humans? And the idea that for everywhere you go, everybody has their Mexicans, the thing that they're scared of people coming over the border and taking their jobs. And if you're in China, it's it's whoever. It's when you're in Germany, it's the Polish. When you're in Spain, it's, I don't know, but it goes on and on.
And when people are, it's easier to convince, broke, uneducated people to be racist because your livelihood's at stake. That's it's a trick that's used everywhere. Right? They're taking your jobs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
one of the oldest lies that is told to motivate people into doing whatever, I think what it does is it preys on a xenophobia that's already deep in you, where you go, I knew that person that didn't look exactly like me was up to no good or whatever. And they prey on that little insecurity you have about people that look different or ideas that are different. I have a lot of people that make fun of vegans or vegetarians when there's nothing in the logic that gives them that, there's no question that you can't have a dog and then turn around and go out into the woods and kill another animal and say, well, these animals are different, or the logic behind that doesn't fit. But at the same time, it's okay to eat meat, but there's a lot of people attacking the people that choose to be vegetarians in the same kind of senseless, arrogant, kind of insecure way that they feel like it's some kind of attack on who they are, because it's weird and different, and they can't imagine what it might be like to do that, because meat is good. Meat, I know this firsthand. Meat is delicious, and to imagine living without it is unacceptable. Or it's like the simple comforts some people don't want to do without. When they see other people, they go, "These people are fucking stupid," And you get a lot of flack.
People are afraid, man. They think if they lose air conditioning, it's really the end of the world. When it's like, hey, if you just got used to the elements and spent time outside and breathed more natural air, then everything would be fine. Man, so I eat meat, but I can't not acknowledge that the meat industry is really horrible, and that to eat meat once a week would be fine and better and more healthy than every day. Like, there's no reason we need large amounts of low quality beef that happens when you raise cattle in a horrible way. I mean, you can smell the difference between these Texas horrible, crowd them in places versus, cows that actually enjoy their lives before they're slaughtered.
Yeah.
I was vegetarian for 2 years, and I became Muslim, and that was another year I was vegetarian, and then I kind of, I wouldn't say it's pressure that came around to it, but I changed thinking, and the idea being that, Islamically you're allowed to eat meat. It's just you should slaughter the animal in a certain way, and there's other guidelines. It's not just like a sticker. So a lot of Muslims, they just want to see a sticker on their meat that says it's, God says it's good meat. You're allowed to eat it. But the true Islamic ways, you're supposed to not abuse the animals as you raise them. You're supposed to not keep them. I mean, you can't raise an animal in its own shit in a diseased, horrible life and then kill it in the name of God and say it's good. You have to like respect the animal. You have to kill it in the quickest, in a quick, relative, as painless as possible. You're not supposed to make pain for the animal. You're not supposed to sharpen your knife in front of the animal before you kill it.
Funny.
You're not supposed to kill animals in front of other animals. Don't kill them twice, right?
Wow.
And so I actually slaughtered a sheep in Indiana. I went to a slaughterhouse with some of the guys from the mosque, and the Indiana slaughterhouse, they let us come in and slaughter them, and then they processed them. And it was really hard. I mean, I watched the other guys kill an animal or two, and I got weak. I had to leave the room for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back in, and I was able to, slice the throat of a sheep, and it was really hard. And I came away from that thinking I eat too much meat, and I'm going to eat less. And I shared that meat with my friends, and I slaughtered one more animal in Turkey once for one of the celebrations there. My wife's family, I bought a sheep and I slaughtered it with my wife's brothers, and we did it. Just out in the backyard. I mean, they have sort of like a farm area, but yeah. So that's, if you can't kill your meat, don't eat meat.
Yeah.
Is fair. It's a fair thing to say, and I eat more than I think I should eat less, basically.
Yeah, and the fact that you take a hands-on approach to the thing that you, instead of the other flip side of it is, if you're very anti-establishment or mistrustworthy of the system and the corporations and the government, then let's step outside of that by understanding what's in your products you're consuming, what's in the devices, how do the devices work that you're using, stuff like that, and because I was telling somebody else about this, as the technology evolves and we don't know how to what's in it and how it works, but we still use it, or if we eat products that have just been grown, killed, harvested, packaged, and then put a sticker on, that just makes you weaker in every way and more dependent on something that is essentially built on popsicle sticks. It's like a giant, like pig farms that may get a disease will break out because the conditions they're living in, and then the entire system gets shut down. They have to cull a bunch of pigs, which is like kill a bunch of pigs or whatever. It's important to have that fucking experience at least once. Like I'd still go to the store, buy salami, buy meat, and when it was cheap, even buy that. But I had been eating less and less, and then I just came to a point where I stopped. And this was 3 months ago or whatever. It wasn't as hard as I thought, honestly. But at the same time, I don't judge anybody else who's still doing it. But the experience of being hands-on and going out and slaughtering those animals yourself and cooking them and skinning them, and then feeling the emotion behind it, absolutely something that nobody should miss out on. I almost don't trust anybody that hasn't, you have to do it. You have to go out there and do it. We've done chickens where you take an old plastic milk jug and flip it upside down, cut the top off, and then that was served as a thing to stick the chicken's head in, and then you're supposed to break the neck as quick as you can. And making sure that there's some humanity behind what you're doing, because, most people have that instinct in them to not say, like, don't mess with him, just get it over with. And,
right.
And I was around when they did some rabbits. We slaughtered a 900-pound pig in Buffalo, New York.
God, man.
In the hot summer. Well, the thing was, this pig was already going to be put down because he was really old. But generally, you don't eat really old pigs because the meat is not as good. But they said that, hey, he was on his way out anyway. And my buddy, in a punk squat, no less, we're in this place, is like 3-story, old abandoned kind of place where everybody was living. and killed this 900-pound pig, put him in the back of a Subaru, and drove him across town while the muffler is throwing sparks because this thing
Oh
is
my
so
god.
heavy. And we tried to cut up as much as that. You had about 10 different punk people just sitting there trying to
Oh my god.
cut this meat apart and try to cure it and
Yeah.
everything. But it ended up being like a biological disaster after a while because you basically had what was like a three dead
That's a
bodies,
lot of
the
meat.
size of three dead bodies, just rotting in the sun in a garbage bag on the side of the house. And
Oh man.
I've never smelled anything so horrible in my life.
I probably haven't either, man. That sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, the neighbor had to come over and say, "Hey, you got to take care of the stuff on the side of the house." I walked around, and it was an odor so nasty that you couldn't even like cover your shirt because it just started creeping up your nose, and you immediately just started gagging. You could almost chew on this smell. And
Oh
no,
man.
but it was good that we went out there and we tried to be self-sustaining in that way. But and then I worked in Northern California, and they always said, "Well, we were so deep in the woods that we had to think about uh, being sustainable because it was like a few hours to town." And so
Hmm.
they kept on asking, "You guys, well, we can kill a chicken tonight if you want." And it's just knowing we all know what a big mess it is, and it's like let's just have beans. I mean, that's okay.
Yeah, that's I listened to the Walden audiobook. I used to read a lot, and then I got too busy, and now I discovered audiobooks, and I can like paint and listen to books, and so I listened to Walden a couple times painting, and yeah, that was his conclusion. He's like he 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 savagely killed a hedgehog and sliced it up and cut it up, and it's like after all the work is done and all that, it's like man, I could have just hang on, this all the energy this took. He had a friend who worked in peat bogs and he used to cut and work really hard all day, and then so he could eat, you know, really heavy meals every night. And hey man, relax, just chill out, don't don't work too hard, and you don't have to kill all these animals.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think, and there should be a limitation, but at the same time, it's such a thing that you got to ease people into this idea and make it seem like it's possible. Because at this point, and then there's a lot of these pretentious people that are going around that they're vegan or stuff, and I understand their seriousness, but at the same time, pretentiousness never wins over friends. And you never deliver messages that are important through pretentiousness. So it's important to you just be nice to people. And that's what, right now it's really
Huh.
tough, right? Everybody's going crazy on the internet and it's the lefties
Mhm.
versus the righties. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to be nice, man, but it's funny. Sometimes you want to just like shout out and say, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
yeah,
And sometimes that's the right response, I guess. That's the crazy thing. Like we're at war for eternity, eternal war on terror. It just gets like, why aren't we screaming? Why isn't someone out in the street screaming every day that this shit's going? I mean, it's just such a monster. Like the right, I drive past the airport every day, and there's a huge, basically military supply facility going on there. So right next to all this, in the middle of town, there's all this military bombs getting shipped around. So, like what the hell? In the middle of Columbus, and you know, if we're not about war, why do we have we talk about the terrorists using human shields, right? We're integrated everywhere. We let our recruiters come into our schools and talk to kids, right? Uh, Recruiters love to talk to teenagers. I mean, wow.
yeah, that's the one thing I touched on with a friend is like where these army recruiter stations and where they're located and how they operate is only to convince poor people that that's the only way that they're going to have a future. When in reality,
Yeah,
I got to say that boots on the ground combat is basically obsolete in a world of like psychological operations like they have now, which where they have big factories full of like Bangladeshi children pretending to be middle class white people on the internet. That's what warfare is now. It's a warehouse full of trolls who are out there trying to sway popular opinion or give people conspiracy theories to jump onto, because it works. It works. But if you put boots on the ground, guess what? You've just basically declared war. But you can manipulate public opinion this other way and not ever have your name attached to it. It's like dropping a bomb and not ever knowing who did it.
Man, but yeah, the if you want, I mean, it looks like no hope for healthcare for the general public, or really like loan forgiveness or all that. So if I mean, yeah, I don't. At one level, I think, hey, our military is fundamentally corrupt and bad and wrong, fighting unjust and immoral wars. Don't join. At the same time, like, well, if you don't have any help from your family and you want to like, survive, and you don't want to just like work in warehouses your whole life, or be homeless. I mean, it's the best option for just anybody. It's like, hey, here's healthcare and education. All you got to do is sign up and join a team, and then you get to be friends the rest of your life, and people call you brave, and it's like, wow, that's a great deal, dude. There's no better deal for. I mean, what are you going to do? Sell drugs? I mean, okay, you might end up in prison, and that sucks. Nobody wants to do that, but you get healthcare there, but it's really bad. But
Yeah, but still, the logical choice, they make it seem like the logical choice is that over everything else.
hmm,
And the geographies they put it in, they always put it in places where maybe industry doesn't exist anymore, where jobs are slim and people are poor, and and you never see it in a rich neighborhood. And it was funny, in Germany of all places, there was a billboard down the street from my house, and I never thought I'd see this while I was in Germany. It was join the Bundeswehr, which is join the army in Germany, and this was right after the pandemic started, and so it really gave me chills. Like, hey, what's going on right now? That Germany, this country that has by law has to have a limited military.
right.
Why are they trying to recruit people at this moment? And it was the same fodder, which was join up, save money for college, be
Right.
somebody, be brave, only the strong survive, whatever. Same old malarkey. Um,
Yeah.
but we're probably both of the opinion that knowledge is power.
Well, what hits me hard, I still have a memory of this commercial I saw a million times growing up of some Marine with like a sword fighting a dragon or some shit.
I remember
And it's
that.
just like burned in my, it's like, that's so cool. I want to be that guy. And man, yeah, it's just not fair. Like, uh, to go and recruit children to join this stuff. You
Yeah.
can't possibly understand it.
Yeah, I used to love spy movies until I realized that people like the CIA or whatever, who they're actually trying to murder in real life, are people that are speaking up about human rights and stuff like that. Like, so to be Jason Bourne in Europe
Yeah,
and like sliding around with on the hood of a car with a gun or whatever is not actually so appealing anymore.
right, man.
James Bond can eat shit, you know. Who knows what enemies of the state?
Yeah,
I love how you could be called a freedom fighter or a terrorist. It depends on who's covering the story.
indeed, man. And usually we end up sponsoring the people we call terrorists too, like ISIS and whoever took over Libya and whoever's in Syria. We support the. It's crazy, man. There's that old saying, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend,"
Mm.
and uh,
Yeah,
well, like Turkey, they're so they're Sunni Muslim, Hanafi Muslim, and so like they hate Shias. Like, so Iran is the only like Shia country. Lebanon has a lot of Shia. There's some Shia in Turkey, but not too much. But so Sunni and Shia are like the big split, and so Iran is Shia Muslim and Turkey Sunni, and so Turkey and the religious Muslims in Turkey, they hate Shia, right? Because they're wrong. They have the wrong thing. They're just wrong. And so, I mean, 400 years ago, they were killing each other, or 300 years ago, and whatever. They had wars. And then But now that the leader of the president or prime minister, no, president of Turkey now, he has it in his mind that he's like the new leader of the Muslims, like the leader of the Muslim world. So when and he has some support and love by like some Muslims all around the world. They like this idea of the Muslim community ruled by one leader. The Ottoman Empire was the last Muslim empire, and so when Erdogan, the prime minister of Turkey, when he went to Libya after that all that crap, like someone was like telling him on the street, like, "Oh, you're the leader of the Emir al-Mu'minin. You're the leader of the believers." So they have this kind of weird like. So he's Erdogan. He's great. He got along great with Obama and Trump and everybody, right? He gets along great with the American establishment. He like part of the border with Syria before the Syria war that was given to like an Israeli organic farming company to manage. There's just all this weird. There's so much weird shit goes on there. Turkey does training exercises with Israel, but then Muslims by supporting Palestinians, you get credit in the Muslim community. So they pretend to be pro-Palestinian, and then they do deals with Israelis. There was this boat that left from Turkey, the Mavi Marmara, and it got boarded by Israelis when it was still in international waters. I think it had like concrete and supplies to like deliver to the Palestinians, right? And the Israelis boarded the boat, and they killed like 8 people. They like got on with choppers, but this still doesn't make me like the organ. They're fucked up too. Like so, then back in Istanbul, they rename one of the boat docks like the Mavi Marmara Station. So they're using this fully for the political propaganda they can get out of it. Like, see, we're tough on Israel. We sent this ship, and they see, and then they rename the station Mavi Marmara after that boat. And then they don't talk about how they're still doing deals with Israeli military and all that,
Right. Because essentially, it's not about religion on the highest levels. It's about power. Doesn't matter what religion you are.
Right. But religion plays in. So like, so Sunni Muslim and leader of the Turkey, they don't go and fight like Turkish soldiers. Well, no, they do go to Syria, but what they do, like what the mainstream Muslims do when they want to cause trouble, is they arm the crazy head chopper Muslims in Bosnia, in Syria, in Libya, right? So they use them as their like attack dogs, and so they have no, and we do the same thing. Like we armed the guys that fought Gaddafi and opened black slave markets in Libya. Like we gave those guys. Turkey has the idea like they sort of, hey, these are our Muslim brothers. So even though they're head choppers, it's like, yeah, well, they're fighting mostly, whatever. They use them like they're attack dogs. So it's really a shame. I mean, I there's with religion, like in some ways we threw the baby out with the bathwater in America. We've just given it up. It's all nonsense and superstitious. Blah, blah, throw it out. And there's a lot to religion, all religions that are garbage. I mean, a lot of, but I think, when I got into it, like I became Muslim and I was enthusiastic when I was like 18, 19. And I came from being kind of just open-minded. I liked Hare Krishna stuff and Buddhism, and I did psychedelics and stuff. And then I got into this kind of more narrow focus area, becoming the Muslim. And I expected that. I didn't realize like everyone else is not so idealistic as me, and that being Muslim or Christian or whatever doesn't really mean anything if you're an asshole,
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, religion is to that point for me, because it seems to me that throughout history, it's been the way that people are most manipulated or most coerced into killing somebody else or hurting somebody else or even judging somebody else. And growing up with part of my family on a certain side being very religious, and sort of their attitudes about other people and what other people do, it just at some point became just too arrogant for me. The idea that you as a missionary are going to go from the
hmm
church and then you're going to fly across the world to this indigenous place where people
hmm
are live life a different way, and you're going to try to spread this story about a carpenter and all this stuff. It's just the epitome of arrogance. I learned that after traveling myself and going to a new place. And that's the worst kind of tourist, is the guy that goes to Mexico and wants a hamburger. You know, it's like you go somewhere else to shut the fuck up and see how it's done these other places. And so, and at the same time, she would these family members would say, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you smoke weed. I'm going to pray for you," and stuff like that. And I just,
yeah.
at some point, you're just like, "Fuck
Uh,
you," you know.
yeah.
And now we've seen religion's been so weaponized against the people that are still religious in our country are the ones that are educated the least and are the most dangerous, who are the ones that are the most racist and the most misinformed and the most armed, you
Mm.
know. So religious extremism is like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because now I can't deal with simple religion, the thing that says be kind to everybody. I can't enjoy that or think highly about
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
because what they've done is every time you turn around, it's somebody killing in the name of.
uh, yeah. There's something that Thoreau said in Walden. I think they always crucify. Why do they always crucify Christ and excommunicate Copernicus and what? Like they yeah. I mean, so well, I rediscovered Jesus through a introduction to Bible as literature class taught by a Jewish guy, a Jewish accountant turned literature professor. He made enough money and said, "Fuck this," and studied British literature. And he had like a Jewish school. He knew how to read Hebrew, and he had some like religious education growing up, but he was just the kind of secular guy teaching the stories. And yeah, the way he presented Jesus, because we read through like the Old Testament, and he's guiding us through everything. And there's the Pentateuch, the first 5 books, and then there's so many stories and so many different parts, and then you get to the New Testament, and it's neat to see this Jewish guy so excited about Jesus, like turning the money, like the money, overthrowing the money turner tables, or like the Sermon on the Mount, or like Kurt Vonnegut, who's uh, he said music is the only proof I've ever needed that God exists.
I love
But
that.
he also thinks there's no afterlife, and he's just a humanist. He's like a secular humanist, Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah, yeah.
I'm the same. I'm similar. I'm not. I'm definitely atheist until presented with something more substantial, because we all look for systems to hold up to measure our experiences to and see, does this work for me? And science versus religion. Science, I was able to measure up the experiences I've had and say, yeah, that fits. That fits, and it makes
Mm,
sense to me.
mm,
And it's not like it would be nicer to have something more pleasant to believe in, not just the lack of any um, whatever, like interesting forces in the world that are at play. But at the same time, I feel like I got to live with the fact that there might not be any specific reason for my existence. Because, and another thing is egos. Like I've been around ego so much and seen it kind of play out on its own and say, well, I just hate this characteristic about humans, is where we can conjure confidence from nowhere and forget about other people existing and stuff. And so I know that religion to a certain extent is our human ego superimposed uh, into a religion and into the figure of God, where this the Messiah or whoever it is always built in the image of us. It's never a bunny rabbit or a wild turkey or an alligator. It's always a person. It's always built in the image of us. And me just loving animals so much and understanding like they feel stuff too. Like they have the same brain functions and pain and pleasure and stuff. And just because they're not as bright or whatever, or don't have thumbs, that's not an excuse. And so they're misrepresented in all of that religion too. And I think, well, I don't need any of that then anyway. The whole quandary about, well, mommy, what happens when the dog dies? Does he come to heaven with us? And the parents are like, he goes to like a separate place. He goes to doggy heaven. And then the kid's like, well, do we go visit him or does he visit us? Or how does that work? Because I want to see him, you know. Too much of that. Too much loopholes where I think, chances are there's nothing there. And I definitely don't want to be threatened with afterlife and be coaxed into doing something because I'm scared that... and I feel like I'm a good person just without all that stuff. And that's... Oof. Find an atheist that's just a good person just because he feels like he needs to be. Now that's strength. That's power.
I think there's something like there's just a natural way of being, whatever that is. And if you remove yourself from that, if you make yourself live a really unnatural life, and you're going to have all these forces you won't be able to deal with, and it's just going to come out in mental illness and messed up society, and I don't know. So the ancient Greeks, they said, if cows or if they can make statues, they'd make their gods look like them.
Probably. We can't help it.
But I like the idea in Sufism, which is like the mystical. It's like mystical Islam. You have the line of the thinkers. In all religions, I've been more drawn to the more spiritual type of the religion. Or so the Sufis, they would wear wool, like simple garments, and be poor, eat weeds. And then there's all different kinds. There are some that are like luxury and have, they're in the court and whatever. They're like the Sultan's group or whatever. But a lot of Sufis were just poor, wandering dervishes who just, where they go into Sufism.
Were they artistic, or were they? Because there was a lot of like nomadic kind of people like that. Like the Buddhists, I don't think that they are, but they are very spiritual and poor and probably eat weeds and stuff.
Well, you had different kinds of like dervishes. You had like Sufi orders that had movements and like buildings and like hierarchy and leaders and rituals and things. And then you had just like random wandering weed eaters and cash smokers. And they'd do things like, work hot iron with their bare hands. And, they do these mystical things, miracles,
Uh-huh.
And then they would be, a lot of times they'd be unorthodox, like, so there would be some Sufi and they'd say he's a wine drinker, and they'd bring him to the king. There's some story in India, and so they bring him to the king, and he's Muslim, and he says, well, you're drinking wine? And he says, so he pours out the flask, and it's full of milk, which is like the most pure drink, Islamically, it's like a pure drink, milk, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of it's neat how alcohol is outlawed, but like the symbolism is totally there. You have like drunken Sufis and sober Sufis. It's a kind of two, and it's not, do they drink alcohol or not? It's like, are these people calm and they just breathe and they say their prayers and they remember God and or are they like wild, flailing around, totally lost? They don't even recognize themselves, and they had both kinds of, funny thing is they would get along too, is sometimes like, so you have the sober people following all the rules and stuff. And then if a group comes to town of these crazy guys, like they're kind of treated like they would be treated like kind of,
entertainment.
The messed up younger brothers or family member that need a little help, like help these guys out. Um, yeah, Sufism.
I like this. Where is this from?
So, so Islam, it's around 1,300 years ago. You had Muhammad in Arabia, and then Islam spread to Iran and India and all the way to Spain. Within 100 years, Islam was in from Spain to like India, and then later all the way to Indonesia. And the Sufis, it's really hard to look at. Like every area had their own monks or spiritual movements. So a lot of people try to say, "Oh, Sufism is just this Indian tradition changed," but or Iranian spiritual tradition is just morphed and that became Sufism. But it's kind of neat. It seems that people that read the Quran and lead a simple life and um, they developed a kind of common spirituality. Uh, so the monks would go to the cave. They'd go to a band. They'd leave the world, go to the cave or the monastery, and leave the world because the world is bad and evil. And so I'm going to separate myself from that as much as possible. But Sufis have the idea of to be alone in the crowd. So you live in the tumult, you're around all the people and the hustle and bustle, but you're also you're alone with God at the same time.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, kind of neat thing. In 100 years ago, the whole Muslim world, everybody, 95% of people had a spiritual teacher, like a sheikh in the neighborhood, or that their family was, connected to. So anytime you had a problem, if you had a problem with your wife, or you didn't know you got to move, or a job, or this or that deal, like you can go talk to the sheikh, and it'd be some old wise man in your neighborhood, and I've seen this, I've seen some of these in Turkey. Like I've met various sheikhs and seen different movements, and it's like in the gypsy neighborhood, there's like a Sufi group, and guys are coming to the sheikh and they ask him problems, and sometimes it's kind of personal, and they just talk to him. But they'd have meetings, and once a week or twice a week, and you sit around, and they have music and tea, and then you do like dhikr, which is remembrance ceremony. So you say names of God or poetry or things, and it's really neat. Bringing a little music into it. So I lived on the edge of my neighborhood in Istanbul. One side was like standard neighborhood, and the other side of my apartment was like the gypsy area. So if I went out one door, like I was on ground level, and I was like, you walk up and there's like gypsies, and you go the other way, and it's like, Turks, whatever.
Cool.
So this the music at these Sufi gatherings, you're looking at people that like they pull these really heavy carts and collect plastic and recycle, or they drive like little mini buses, or these are just like working people, and they do, but they do like the religious ceremonies. And I mean, I watched a uneducated, you know, bus driver play violin at a while there's got drums going, and he's playing violin, and the sheikh is some uneducated guy too, and he's guiding everything, and he's very like he has everything in line. We got the drum going, and he knows he's guiding it, and it's all under his. It's really neat, man. Like the
Does Sufi have a specific style of music too?
well, you've probably heard of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, maybe the Qawwali singer. Yeah.
It sounds
So,
familiar. Yeah.
but you have so many kinds of music. You have, but you have like the different instruments. You have a flute, the Turkish or the Persian flute, the ney it's called. You have different drums that they use, and
What about the bouzouki? Because the Greeks used to play
mm,
this mandolin style instrument
oh
that
yeah,
had a very long neck, and it was played in the hash dens of ancient Greece or something like that. And then
oh
they would
cool,
they would come in and they would break up these secret little hash bars in the middle of the night and break their bouzouki's and stuff. But so it was like Rebetica was the name of the music that was born in
Hmm.
these Greek hash dens. But I know that Turkey also has some instruments that are very similar, big kind of like the. And what is the saz?
Yeah, they were saws. They
Oh,
say.
the saz.
Yeah, so saws is like a three-string. Maybe that, I'm not sure what the difference is, but it's like a three-string, or some of them are doubled, and it does kind of like a drone sound. It's got a yeah, like a body is like a small body shape with a long neck,
Huh.
and uh, and the frets are like tied on. They like movable frets.
Interesting.
I do, yeah. I never. I couldn't really crack the code of Turkish music. It's I listened to it a lot, but it's neat how the also just the when they say certain things like in Arabic, like in the mosque or something, they do different. They sing it in different tones, and it's not like standard tones.
Yeah.
And somehow, that's what gets me. Everyone is on key and on time and on tone and stuff, and no one learned. It's just
As
it
far
happens.
as far as I can tell, the further east you go, the more you get these until you get to about India or even China. The scales that you play, musical scales, and the notes that you play, they change so much as to what they like and stuff. And one of the things is where they sing a note, they'll go, and they'll bring it up. They'll
Mm.
bring this note up and go, and then bring it back down. They'll go, like this. And that's nowhere in Western music. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. There is a movie out there called Lacho Drum, and it's about this pilgrimage of gypsies. But the way that it was filmed and the music that's in it, it's one of the most incredible music movies I think I've ever seen. By far, one of my favorites. But what they do as the Romani people, they got kicked out of Pakistan, like or Persia a long time ago. Basically,
Uh-huh.
came from India and have been making pilgrimages ever since, and they still do it to this day. And in the movie, as they move west, the kind of tone of the music changes to where you get less of that kind of Eastern thing. And then by the time they make it to Spain, which is their final destination every year, it's very flamenco and everything,
Okay.
very flamenco oriented. But without a doubt, the Romani are considered the best technical musicians in Europe and most of Asia. They're really
That's
incredible.
amazing. That's amazing.
They're one of the most incredible people.
But the sad thing is that I found if you go to Turkey, or you hear a lot of sympathy for Kurds, like Kurds are being oppressed and whatever. And at least when I was there, that was a thing. And you had um, you have even like guys from Europe coming over to go fight with the Kurdish communist group,
mm-hmm.
and they're like, so you had like all this. And it's the Kurds are oppressed, and it's like almost equivalent. Like Kurds are like the blacks of Turkey, when actually like the Gypsies or Roma, like they're anything bad that you could imagine, like you could still say about them. Like anything in America, if you would imagine anything in America, like how, like I don't even want to give racist examples of what I would say to be like, how dare you say that? But like you talk about Gypsies, and it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. Lying thieves, and of course, you're
Right.
like, I mean, any bad thing. It's just like, how did that happen? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I think it's neat. At least like we have a pod like Jimi Hendrix, the band of Gypsies, and like this is kind of like it was just a real positive image too.
Yeah. But in reality, that they're not liked by the people who are the ones that are following the rules of basic society. But in their own world, they are nomadic, and they're going to do that, and it doesn't matter what other people think. But at the same time, the friend told me on the podcast, he said, the word for themselves is royalty, okay, in their language.
That's cool.
And
royalty.
the word for everybody else is peasants. So when you call them gypsies, they don't care, basically, because they are going to do what they're going to do anyway. And I saw that live when I went to this Romani festival in the south of France. and they do what they're going to do, and they do what they do to get by. And it reminded me so much of my friends in America and how we were hated, and then all of a sudden somebody sees that you're playing really good music and they say, you come to my house. Um, and in France there are like,
Oh,
and in Europe there are places where they are allowed to be, where they're not going to get in trouble, but at the same time they're treated like the total scourge, you know.
yeah. No, there's along the old city walls of Constantinople, Istanbul. There was they just renovated like a whole neighborhood, and all along the walls they're changing stuff. And there was one old neighborhood, and it's like I don't know if they're 50 or 100-year-old kind of 2 or 4 story kind of shack looking buildings, but it's a whole neighborhood. It's just funny. They left. They've been in Europe for 1,000 years. They've been in Turkey for 1,000. They were there before the Turks came to Turkey, and then now you have they're just still despised, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were in the city probably when the Turks took it over, and they're still there, and they probably hated then and still hated. And man, nomads, like every country, everyone. So governments want to have power and control everything, and so nomads just don't mix. You can't be a nomad.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Got, got me thinking. Or sorry, the Grateful Dead. That was like the largest nomadic community in America, functional for so many years. And yeah, I don't think we're still going to learn about the value of that in years to come as we open up to psychedelic research and all that.
And as we get forced out of our homes by corporations and stuff, then we're like, I guess I live in my van now. There's a group on the internet for vagabonds, and I just see the number of people joining it increasing like crazy.
Wow.
So it tells me that there's a revolution coming where people are getting backed into a corner and they're trying to find alternative lifestyles pretty quick. But you're absolutely right that the traveler has no place in society, because you know what? It doesn't matter who the people are, if they are considered a little poorer or whatever, but they have this rich culture of like relaxing, dancing, trying to make some food happen, and then other than that, just trying to enjoy their life. While the first world, like America stuff, is so worried about progress and sterilization and making everything clean and factory made. There is no place for both. And it's basically anytime they see a subculture of people having a good time and not having any worries, they go, well, this has nothing to do with capitalism. We need to go in there and tear this group apart, infiltrate the group,
Yeah.
and fucking destroy it. Because
Potheads making music, having fun,
that's
getting
not
involved in.
to think
Getting
that you could
politically
live a
inspired.
life to think that you could live a life without having to kill anybody or worry about anything or go to the factory and make like we could literally just grow food and play music.
Man, just about travelers. The traditional. I don't know if this is Turkey. Or I think this is all of Middle East or just any old time culture. When you go to Turkey and the villages. The old time is you show up in a village as a traveler. They give you a place to stay and food for 3 days before they ask you, so how you doing? What are your plans?
Yeah.
It's like food and rest 3 days, and then we ask. I mean, that would be rude if we were to ask you after, before 3 days to ask you anything. That would be so rude, man.
Yeah, like what the hospitality out there is unmatched, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. You have assholes too, but no, dude. I went in the summertime to a ski resort to go hiking. So I took a bus and I got off and I was going to hike 20 miles up this road to the ski resort. And I just I got tired, and you could just pitch your tent on the side of the road. So I just pitched my tent, compared to America, right? So I just pitched my tent on the side of the road, and then I wake up the next morning, and walking sucks. It starts to rain, so somebody just gives me a ride to the top, and then it's raining. I go to the hotel. There's some workers there in the basement, so they said, "Oh, come on in." They gave me some food. So I was hanging out with the workers. They gave me some food, and then they told me about. Yeah, so I found there's these mountain villages that they used to use in the summertime. So 100 or 200 cabins, and they used to the whole village would move there in the summer and bring their flocks, their cows and their sheep and everything. And so I went there. I was just walking around alone, and I show up in one of these towns, and there's like 100 cabins, and there's like people in one of them. So I just pick another empty cabin, and they bring like that night. This shepherd, he comes over and he brings me a bag of bread and vegetables, and just he's worried I don't have any food, and that make sure I have a fire. I can get a fire going, and that's this. It's a mountain village. It's totally free and open, and
That's incredible.
unreal. And then
Yeah.
another time I went there another time, and there's one family living in this village, and they have an older couple, and they have their cows, and so they gave me like some yogurt and whatever. They gave me dinner one night, and but these villages are empty because now everyone has jobs in the chicken factory or jobs in the city. Like Turkey, they did education real good, so now girls don't expect to like make carpets in the home and like produce anything of whatever. Now everyone goes to school now, and so everyone gets a degree in bullshit, and now everyone has bullshit degrees and no jobs, and they're losing the carpet making and then the old skills and yeah.
Yeah, that's the shame. That's the first world mistake where we took a wrong turn at Albuquerque and started evolving towards this. The Industrial Revolution. We're still hooked on this, even though it's quite clear that it's not working out, and it's especially not giving us any freedom. What it is giving a certain select group of people all the power and wealth, and giving us useless degrees where we wondering how we're gonna where we're gonna teach philosophy or something like that. But yeah, it's too bad. Mexico is got parts of it too where you think, oh yeah, third world country, whatever. But there, I went to the mountains in Oaxaca near San Mateo, which is same kind of thing. It was a mountain community that was cut off from the bigger cities, and so where you get up the highway, and then you get on a dirt road and you drive for like 4 hours, and then you're finally out in the woods. And what happens there is the police rarely ever come there. They cannot govern this area, so these people all have rules that they've all agreed on, and the town runs in a different kind of way, to where if you're between the ages of 14 and 21, what you do is you work your ass off for everybody in the village. You milk these cows, you do a lot of the basic agricultural work to keep food flowing in the place. And then once you turn a certain age and become an adult to some degree, then you're free, and all your stuff is free because there's somebody else doing that labor there. And I met a kid who was born there and then went to Oregon and lived in Oregon for a while, and then came back and ultimately decided that was the best place to be. And we went up there in spring and everything. We saw how they do things, and the hospitality there was incredible. Like real chocolate made up there and pressed into bars. And then what they have, the drink, what do they drink there? They drink mezcal. And my whole trip in Mexico, I drank a lot of mezcal, but this stuff was the best because this guy made it himself, and it was pear flavored. And but the system worked differently, and the people got along just fine without all that first world bullshit. Like they didn't need what was funny is the gas station too. There was no gas station there, but you'd have guys on the side of the road with cans of gas with a cardboard sign that says gas or whatever. I was always so sketched out about that in Mexico because there was a lot of places where it was just like a guy with a cardboard sign was the gas station. And I was thinking, well, he could just put water in my gas tank. So I would always opt for the real gas station. But
oh man.
But yeah, I mean, do we really need all this shit from the first world? Are we going to lose agriculture as a means to be independently wealthy? Because that's not what they want. They want to control all the money. They want to control the flow of wealth. And I get why, like, because it's just a habit where everything works better for them if they can have a little bit more control and they can make better moves. I don't think that necessarily all those people that are in power are like James Bond villain style pure evil, but at the same time, that no one person should be making those decisions, and therefore not one. There should never be just one small group of people making the decisions for people, and that you have to be but the democracy, the idea of let everybody decide, is only as good as, are you going to tell these people the truth? Are you going to not obfuscate the truth? Are you going to make sure that these people have education? Because the democracy in America, democracy, I use the word loosely, is only based upon, predicated on the idea that people have the truth readily available, and information and knowledge readily available for free, basically. But that's not what we see.
Yeah, well, we don't know what's true or not. It's like we have no taste for it. We have no. We don't know, like. In Turkey, people, they buy vegetables based on if they taste good or not. It doesn't matter what you say about it, like, and you, like, when you buy stuff, you taste it first, maybe, and you can tell if something's, like, they say it's got hormones. They say hormonlu, like these tomatoes are whatever. Like, you could say, yeah, it's obvious. They just, like, look at it. It's, and we don't talk like that in America. We're just like, oh, well, my label's good, and So I think we need some kind of awareness like that for truth too, where, like, you should be able to taste it if it's real. It shouldn't be. You should be able to examine it. Like, if what you say about the army is true, I should be able to, like, look into that and relieve my worries. If you say this or that thing isn't anything to worry about. Like, what we have is it seems like our press and our movies and everything's geared to keep us from asking certain questions or caring about. We're drowning out certain questions. Like, you're allowed to say whatever, but it's got to be drowned out by, you got to buy shit. As long as
support the consumerist mindset. You can produce any kind of media that you want, but as soon as you start speaking out against basic concepts like buying shit you don't need, then you become kind of, like, looked at by the powers that be like, what are we going to do with you? And I think throughout history, those people that we knew were speaking out, they got marginalized pretty quickly and neutralized. Everybody from Huey P. Newton of the Black Panthers and Gil Scott-Heron, who was a great musician who spoke about, like, human rights and stuff like that. He was an activist. To John Lennon and Martin Luther King, and the fact that they were coincidentally murdered by crazy people. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, and the fact that they were both. I mean, they were watched by our government. Like, they had we were spying on them all the time. Like,
to think that they weren't enemies of the state is incredibly dumb. Because America takes preventative measures against who they think are, dissidents, people who are going to go against the grain. We're going to snuff them out before they even get started. Like, and the whole thing with the Red Scare in the 50s was basically getting this idea of communism and getting people so worked up about it, and then looking for sort of a ghost that wasn't really there, and just making a boogeyman out of it rather than transparently saying,
I thought that stuff was gone. I think that propaganda is, like, resurged, and they just brought it back with this Russia stuff. Anything Russian related to, like, rather than talking about actual things that our government does that are good or bad, there's this Russia scare. So they try to say Trump's a Russian, or this guy's a Russian, or, like, Julian Assange was visited by Russians, and that's, like, a news story. Like, what? Like, so what? Like, what does that mean? Is that
I think like the takeaway is really America and all the press wants to say about China and even the Uyghur Muslims that are being put in the camps. Like, at the very end of the day, there are problems at home that we need to be looking at. And it's all and if there is a lot of bad stuff happening in China, that's terrible. But
Yeah,
but right now it's not the time, and it's really just a way for them to point the finger and say, "Look over there, look over
yeah.
there."
I mean, right. I mean, when we're put into, we're not stopping our pipelines, and our pipelines are breaking and fucking up the reservations that we moved the native peoples to, who are still. I mean, that should be a news story still. Like, hey, the people that we stole our country from, they still don't want these pipelines around in their land that we gave them a little small piece of land after we took everything, and yeah. So when Mike Pompeo is the head accuser of China or something, like when it's Mike Pompeo, and I looked into it, there's some weird end times Christian thinker who's like the head source for a lot of these Muslim China stories in the AP.
Mm-hmm.
He's a weird, just a nutcase, and he's he's like a source in the AP, as if he's. I met a Uyghur Muslim in Turkey, and he talked about growing up in China and how he'd go out jogging, and the police would tell him to go home. Basically, so they didn't want him to be. And he told me that was like, yeah, well, they don't want us like training and being strong. They want us to stay home and be weak. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed like, yeah, I think there's definitely been, China's definitely screwed the Uyghurs and the Tibetans and their own people and everybody. And, they're a government, so what do you expect?
Yeah.
These dams are fucked up. They built the biggest dam in the world. I think it's leaking. They covered up a 2,000-year-old village. They had continuously occupied 2,000-year-old villages that were covered up by these dams that are now leaking. I mean, so China's a big, the government of China is a big monster, just like every government,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But they're especially in this position because they're so wealthy that they're going to be doing lots of stuff. But you know what? Because they're so wealthy, they don't even have to do things like have violent confrontations. They can use soft power, which is helping Guatemala build bridges and helping Somalia improve their railway system and stuff. They do things like that. But at the same time, as their economy, most certainly at this moment, surpassing the United States for the first time in history, like America really wants to rattle those sabers about China. China's doing this, China's doing that. We want to win the race without having to run, basically.
Yeah, it's funny how, I mean, China is like China's the boogeyman for Republicans now, and Beijing Biden, they say, whatever. And then Russia is the boogeyman for Trump, and they got to have a boogeyman somewhere.
Yeah.
And Islam too, kind of was like the big one that took over after communism. It seems like after the Cold War, we didn't know who the enemy was, and then okay, good, Islamic terror, good. We got these hijackers. They took down, which I still don't believe, guys. The box cutters took down and flew planes. I don't believe that story. I don't. It's not like I don't believe it could happen. It just seems really improbable.
It seems
not a lot of evidence.
Well, just knowing what would happen in that situation, that anybody that knew what was actually happening or what the objective was, as soon as they found out, they would not let that happen. So to think it was just box cutters is probably false. And that the overlooked connection with the Saudis about it, and like that one building that exploded.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's one of these moments in history that, because of the tragedy, nobody's ever going to look deeper into it and say, what is it? But stuff like the war crimes that basically Cheney and Bush committed by going into Iraq with false information will also be. So at the end of the day, the takeaway is, hey, mind your own fucking business, okay? And when you hear a news article about fascist governments in China and in Russia, why not just think of them as all governments, because your government's not special. It's involved in the same lewd and lascivious conduct.
Right, man.
But people are wound up, and this is the real thing. Is the decline of Western civilization is in full swing because we've squandered some of our great gifts, and everything is symbolic of a failing nation that's rotting from the inside in the rural parts in the heartland is sort of rotting from the inside out, and the people that live there are scrambling to find anything on the internet that'll explain to them what's going on and why are there people around me sleeping on the streets? Why are black people shouting that they need more rights? What's going on? And a lot of them have opted for the fantasy story, the conspiracy theory, the one that is a little more fun to believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what it is, it's the mechanism that does religion, does faith in the brain, that people can give blind faith to something that sounds fantastic. And they kind of just go, yeah, Democrats are molesting children in the basement of pizza shops and stuff. And then it never ends. It's not like a never-ending rabbit hole that these poor people are going down. And what they do, all they really know is through whatever radicalized information they've been absorbing, it's us. We're the ones that are problem. Their neighbors, the people that live in the cities, the artists, the musicians, the university-educated people. That's the problem. But when in reality, come on, it's rich people. And how can you even sit there and lick the boots of the rich people while saying it's blacks, it's gays, it's women, it's vegans, it's anybody but, the establishment points them right in the right direction, makes their head look to the right direction.
Well, Chomsky, they asked Chomsky about 9/11, and he said, whatever they're talking about, evidence for controlled demolition, whatever. And he's like, look, whatever the story is, blah, 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 blah. The reality is, whatever the case is, all the tyrannical governments all around the world they're not going to waste, as Rahm Emanuel said, never waste a crisis. So Chomsky said, and I believe that's true, but I think also we're extra fucked because what actually happened in 9/11, I think, is really like people are just, I don't even look and imagine that, because that means we're so fucked that if it was done by our own government in order to create a state of fear and emergency so we can get endless war happen forever, that's too dark a possibility for a lot of people to even think about, so they don't even think about it.
Yeah, but it's more simple than it sounds. It's like, I
don't know if that is what happened. Then why am I even debating anyone about whether or not the vaccine is put out there for good? There's no point in I don't trust the government, so whatever.
Yeah, there just needs to be a constant, healthy mistrust of the government, no matter if you end up being wrong or right. Is that you look at what they're doing and say, and as far as the vaccine goes, I'll be the last guy in line because I'm watching everybody else, seeing if they turn into werewolves, and then I'll get in line. But come on, where we come from, the institution and the way that they handle things is not to be trusted. They've privatized every industry and simplified everything to where the do or die things that we need to survive and everything have been cheapened, weakened, and made potentially harmful. And that's education and healthcare and you name it. So don't trust these people.
Yeah, making people debt slaves, man. It's like, sorry, this not really just popped in my head now, but I'm working towards how do you live with less money and more real stuff? How do you live out of planting these seeds instead of using money to go to the store? And how do you once you have some land and a community and you build that up, and then if you're in that perfect place in the mountains of Mexico, right, you have that and you know how to live and everything, that's great. But if you have 40,000 or 80,000 student loan debt, you're never going to be able to go to the mountains, or you won't be able to go to the mountains until you've worked your life to pay off your debt. So, and then you're retired, and then you get to live a natural life and understand the meaning of life and what it's about. And,
I can't stress enough to people everywhere I go, it's about their fantasies about owning property or being a part of the American dream with a car and a house and everything. In the 50s, you could buy a house on a year's salary.
Yeah.
And since then, the amount of money the average person makes has gone down or has stagnated, while the price of living has skyrocketed or doubled or tripled and everything, to where now they've decided that let's take the things that people absolutely need, which is land, housing, cars, healthcare, and let's get it to where they have to pay for it for the rest of their life, because
Right.
it's not good that you can just build a house, sell it to a guy, and then that guy owns it outright forever. Let's change the system. Let's get them into a debt economy to where they end up paying for the same house 40, 50 years.
And
And
even if somebody were to give me a house, like a standard American dream house, I probably couldn't like. I'd probably be paying just like a little bit less than I am paying rent here, just to get property taxes on the like. I couldn't afford to be given a house, even
right,
the way that the system is.
yeah,
Well, I could, but I'd have to get a job making much more money, which like you can only. It's
but
striking me now as I'm getting older. You only have so much time. Like I started studying Arabic, and 10 years later, 20 years later, you know, you don't. You only get to. You got to pick. You got to pick. You got to prioritize some things.
yeah,
Like if you want to learn a language, you don't get to start when you're 40. You got to start earlier. I mean,
yeah,
if you want to learn it well. Um, so yeah, the basics of life: growing vegetables, baking bread, these kind of things. They took it all away from us.
yeah,
I'm bringing it back for myself if I can.
right. Yeah, and I think everybody out there who might be listening needs to do the same thing. And a lot of people in my circle have already come to the realization that, hey, this kind of lifestyle in America is not doing it, and so we need to go back to the farm, go back to the. But a lot of people out there don't know, and you got to realize that certain activities like making bread has been subsidized, and they've made it so it's cheaper to buy the factory bread.
Right.
And then you are forced into a situation where you're going to eat low quality products because this is the standard in society. And look, this is the other thing about America is there are two McDonald's on average closer to you than there is a grocery store.
Right.
And the fact that the people in the 50s used to have one job and be able to have a family of four and buy a house and a car with that one job and one person working. Now you have both people in the house working two jobs or something to try to get the same amount of wealth that those people did back in the day. And to think that you're going to fucking make bread on top of that is insane.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to find time to make bread. You're not even going to find time to cook anything. What you're going to do is stop by Mickey D's and get yourself a dried up old McDonald's hamburger.
Right. But here's the sad thing though, and it's like you can't expect like like a mother who goes to work and then comes home and has to take care of her two kids to like do everything or whatever. But the one of the weird truths about like, so I've got my bread making system down. It takes me about 10 minutes to mix up my dough. And then so I take yesterday's dough and I take off a little piece and I mix it in with today's dough, and yesterday's dough becomes the bread. It takes me about 10 minutes, pop it in the oven, so if you wanted to go to McDonald's, it's actually going to take you longer. You're going to sit, people are waiting in line, getting angry, or they're waiting in their cars,
yeah,
waiting for their McDonald's. The people working inside are fucking up their orders because they don't just their job sucks and everything's.
What does the dead Kennedys say? Give me convenience or give me death. Yeah, that's it. Not only,
Man,
but you gotta have the time.
So bread, I can make bread in 10 minutes a day. Like I'm making bread every day now, whatever the hell else I'm doing, and that's not changing everything, but
But do you still get bombarded with this world that you don't want? A factory made this, factory made that. You see a cooler full of Coca-Cola and you go, no, yeah, I'd like to have that. But the
yeah,
fact
right.
that you're in that environment, that no matter what, at some
Uh,
point you do get. I've gotten trapped too because I lived in California and there you can get some nice organic vegetables and people that are growing food. But when you take a road trip across, I would be in New Mexico at a truck stop and
hmm
they don't know what that means when you say, "Do you have any kale or something?" They're like, "What? What is that?" And so sometimes it can be rough out there in the middle of nowhere. They don't have this concept yet.
Well, I think if you are in Tucumcari, if you're in the middle of nowhere, I think you go to Tucumcari and there's like the largest Sikh truck stop in America or something.
Really?
Something like that. There's a large like Sikh truck stop because yeah, they're like, I guess they're dominating American trucking now
Yeah.
for whatever reason. They're just like, you mean we just drive and we do our thing and do whatever, all
Here,
right, we can do it.
here's what people don't understand is the stereotype that's funny to talk about, but the fact that these Indian guys own all the either gas stations or hotels, or the Chinese. There's a lot
Mm,
in California. The Chinese own all the hotels and stuff. Is that there is a part of the law that allows them to own this business and be grandfathered in, and then to be able to bring in friends and family from overseas. And so they just really set
wow.
up like a little like kind of mafia everywhere, to where you go across the country and all of these people are in the same
Wow.
industry. It's because it's nothing wrong with it. It's just that
Mm.
they get special
It's,
permission when they are business owners. Like they have this ability, and they definitely want to bring their people over and everything. And
no, it's amazing. I mean, I'm noticing like I mean, I remember the difference 10, 20 years ago of how many Chinese people were traveling around the world. And it's like, so with America losing its, we don't make anything anymore. And now China makes everything.
yeah,
There's like, I mean, there's a lot of Chinese, even the universities are taking in Chinese students, like, you know, so at Ohio State, there are like 75,000 students, and a good percentage of them are, they have in state and out of state tuition. So all the Chinese students are paying out of state tuition. So locals are getting to it where they can't even afford the local price, but there's even more demand for out of state, higher paying tuition. I mean, they're like rejecting Chinese kids based on test scores. They could just let in more, and we get more money in the university, uh, and
every
that's all over Australia, America, and
the
yeah,
Western world is for sale, and that's one of the main problems where why we're sitting around saying we're from here. Why are we having to suffer? And then they do,
mm,
because it's whoever has the most money wins. Not to say that I really don't know what it's like to have high quality American healthcare or high quality American education.
mm.
I'll never know. But the fact is, it's not available to me. So
Yeah, well,
that's
education is it's one of those things. You either join the army if you're smart, and then you get your partially funded education.
yeah.
If you follow the, they tell you school's the only way. You're a loser if you don't go to college. You're a big loser if you don't graduate high school, and you definitely have to go to college and do this. And you don't want to be a loser, do you? That's kind of the mentality or the right. They don't tell you like, hey, it's cool not to be a debt slave. Right?
Yeah. Hey, it's
And
cool to actually have be multifaceted in your talents rather than just be some kind of corporate kind of idiot savant that can crunch numbers and doesn't can't do anything else and doesn't, you know.
man, it's so funny. Like I started painting houses like my first summer when I was in Indiana. So I worked for like an old school painting company, and uh, yeah, I started scraping a house, and then they got me doing like remove wallpaper, do this or that. So they kind of like taught me the ropes, and it was kind of old fashioned. You work together, you clean out your tools together at the end of the day, and um, so painting. Where's it going with that? Painting. Oh yeah. Now I'm working. I'm doing some painting. I might work 4 or 5 hours a day, and that's a lot of. That's like enough. Like I'm holding a brush for 5 hours, I think that's good enough. You know, now I'm going to do something else. For I'm not lazy, but I don't want to hold a brush anymore. You know,
Yeah.
but and I think that's reasonable. I don't think anyone should have to. Why do we force ourselves to do? No, don't hold it for 5 hours. Hold it for 11 hours and develop tendon problems in your hand, and keep working, and then
So
do
that's
drugs to keep you moving.
right. And this is the thing. It's never been, and I finally
Oh,
kind of get the picture in my mind. It seems like we were around millions of years, and for millions of years we walked around, and we walked upright. We rested when we needed to sleep. Um, we were unaffected by the world we have now. And then just 10,000 ish years ago, we were like, okay, let's settle down and start farming, and let's stay in one place. And for whatever happened, we made this switch and we said, let's stay here. And a bunch of people started staying in the place where they, well, we started breaking our back. We started making our body do things that we had never done before, plowing the fields and working, fucking 40 hours a day,
mm,
and
yeah.
and
Yeah, imagine 48 hours of work, man. What the hell?
yeah, and these
Hunter
people,
gatherers work 2 hours max,
right,
including food. Yes.
right, and the thing was that the life expectancy went down like crazy. People started, their life expectancy was cut in half, and that's why you get people that in the Middle Ages that lived to be 30, and that was considered to be good or whatever.
Yeah, no, even was I listening? Was it? Were you talking to some other pod? I was listening a minute ago, maybe another podcast of yours.
Yeah.
You mentioned, or in medieval times, it was actually might have been something else. But in medieval times, it wasn't until they destroyed local money that people got unhealthy or something. The
Yeah.
Middle Ages wasn't necessarily bad. I mean, if you had local money, which like everything's coming locally, then you're able to somehow,
Right.
even like the wealth, all these churches that they built came from local wealth.
Right, that was
somehow.
it. But the
Like,
thing, once the king or any monarchy instituted their money, then all the control got to them instead of the locals. Like the money was more democratic, and then, but we see that today is like the fight between Bitcoin and regular money. It's like the central banks are really fighting against any idea of Bitcoin, because that's like it's like local money. It's not controlled by any one person, but it will be though eventually.
Sorry, just to go back to that. I studied anthropology, so and I learned. I had just cool teachers that tell you weird things and they stick with you. And one of them was that, hey, life was better as a hunter gatherer, and it's bullshit. The people that say otherwise, and that's I just believe that because I learned it in school, and I think it's cool, But,
Yeah.
2 hours of work, including making your meals. If you're in like a temperate climate or something,
Yeah.
maybe you got to work harder if you're at Eskimo. But like, and you spend the rest of your time like in Polynesia, that you'd have a paddle. That would be, you just spent 1,000 hours carving little intricate designs on it with a seashell.
Yeah.
Hanging out with your friends, carving your paddle with a seashell, and that's what you do. Like that's fun, man. Like
Yeah.
and so we lost that.
Yeah. The soles of our feet have become soft and not used to the hard ground, and they've softened us and put us in cages and told and promised us a better life. When I'm just like you, I'm the same belief that we should have never stopped moving. Should have always kept moving. Should have always kind of played Johnny Appleseed and kept planting seeds. And so, this is how nature works. Is like the animals come through, they eat the vegetation. The vegetation turns into poop. The poop is mixed with the seeds of the plants that they ate. And as they keep moving and they're nomadic, they drop their poop behind them, fertilizing and germinating these seeds and making everything a cycle, a revolution. And, it works better. It works better that way. And we were the same. We were no different. We would eat the berries. We would poo the berries out. And we would poop, and then we would keep walking. Rather than the problems that we had when we first settled, pooped, and then didn't leave and just sat in there, and they're like, oh, there's that poop. I made
Yeah.
yesterday, and then we had diseases and all this stuff. And we're like, I don't understand why I'm so sick. I don't know why I have pink eye. It's maybe because you like are rubbing shit all over. You're bathing in shit.
Man,
But
it's funny. Like, so here I am in Columbus, Ohio, and we're like, we think we're a part of the modern world, and we're, we are like in the space age and shit. We're sending stuff to Mars. Like, my local river, the Scioto River, so the sewage doesn't just go straight into the river normally. So they have like rainwater sewage and they have like shit sewage.
yeah,
But what happens is, so the shit sewage goes to the plant. But when it rains really hard, the shit sewage overflows into the other sewage.
gross.
So that all that sewage goes into the river, which doesn't really matter because it's only at like when it's really raining hard. But so that means we've always got potentially like E. coli and harmful. You never want to go swimming in that river, right?
Fuck.
So I take my boats there, man. It's I don't find any turds or anything, but our sewage. I mean, if you want to fix that problem, I guess Chicago has a system where the sewage. No, if it rains really hard, the non-shit sewage spills into the shit sewage, and it goes to a shit holding tank.
Yeah.
So Chicago has this huge sewage management thing. Columbus, we could fix our problem, but we just spent a whole bunch of money making a bigger holding tank for the shitty, dirty water before it goes into the river again. So like we just spent money on that, like updating our current shit system. We're not going to like. So now people are talking about defund the police and blah blah blah. But nobody is like, hey, our rivers are full of shit, but I guess that doesn't matter because there's so many nitrates from our farming runoff. Because we're building, we got to grow corn to make ethanol and food for the animals. So rivers are full of nitrates and sewage.
I love how absolutely wrong everything that you just said was. It's like everything is done terribly wrong. It's true.
So somebody's there looking at these facts and being like, yeah, so we got to build this giant nitrate treatment center. And we don't have to like stop putting nitrates in the river. And that's what they're doing now in Columbus because people got sick from nitrates.
And they don't care until it happens to them. And then they're outraged.
Yeah.
In order for people to even care about infrastructure, like you have to put such a human element to it and really make sad documentaries with sad piano music for people to be like, oh my God, this is an issue. But
yeah.
But there's plenty of things. And that's another thing that America should just mind its own fucking business and focus on the rotting infrastructure and the rotting kind of minds of the people in there. And then we could actually have a chance of being competitive in the global whatever marketplace, like the thing that's so important to them. Then we would actually be strong. But yeah, to corn, to feed the animals, to the, it's broken. It's totally broken. Places like, you're in Columbus, but if you go to Cleveland and stuff, or up to Buffalo or over to Detroit, the things that happen there's like old chemical plants that are always exploding, or abandoned buildings that are always catching on fire and releasing. Like the old chemical plant is on fire again, and they would evacuate neighborhoods. I was in Buffalo. They had to evacuate the whole neighborhood. We were supposed to go do something for 8 hours.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
And it's a city that time forgot because the whole place is full of rusted auto manufacturers and steel manufacturers. They call it the Rust Belt. And if you go along the Erie River up to Lake Erie and shit, it's nothing but abandonment. And really, like, we went to the beach on Lake Erie, and there was in Buffalo, and there's nothing but dead fish.
Oh man.
And factories that are kind of in the medians of the river or the lake or whatever. I forget how it goes up there, but then you go up to Niagara Falls and the river's it's like a bit cleaner because it's all coming from the north. It's all coming from Canada, but how sad. But America's really beautiful. And they just need to ditch this mentality like they just got here and look at all this stuff that's for the raping and what we could just
Mm.
take all this stuff and use it and like just kind of got to back up a bit and go back to who was the dude that met with the president back in the 1900s and was like, it's actually beautiful. You should, and convinced him to be a conservationalist.
Uh, oh, I don't, oh, not oh, what's his name? California, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, it's named, stuff is named after Muir, John Muir.
John Muir. Okay, yeah, I read something about him. So yeah, it's pretty common. Young men will do crazy things, climb a mountain or sail, whatever. You do crazy, extreme stuff. But even when he was like in his 40s, he climbed to the top of a redwood in a thunderstorm to experience. Like he was something else, I guess.
He was a real nut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I could get to be that crazy when I'm in my 40s.
I mean, it does. All he needed to do was take a step back and realize that, well, humans are just part of nature and they're just monkeys that behave in a certain way. And let me view the natural world with an objective lens, try to back up from the man-made, distractive kind of bullshit that exists and man-made systems and stuff like that and take a close look at nature. And if, especially in the 1800s, if you took a close look, then you'd see, wow, there's a lot there that you're not seeing, and there still is every day that people are discovering basic shit like, yeah, lobsters feel pain. Who would have thought,
Man.
We all do. When you boil them alive and they make that air escaping noise, that's actually them screaming bloody murder. Just like if you threw your grandma in a tub of boiling water, she'd make the same noise.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough way to kill anything. I saw in like pygmies in the pygmies will eat these worms and they gather all these worms and then they cook them like over a fire. It's horrible. They like basically roast them alive.
Yeah.
And they like shake them hot and they're like, oh, yeah, it's just wow.
Yeah, there was a scene in a movie where the guy ate a live squid or whatever. It's a Korean film, and he ate this live octopus or whatever. And
wow,
that's not good. I like Korean cinema, I like movies and everything, but that doesn't make you cool to put that on film or whatever. But Asia's always going to be. Now, look, for the first time, I'm seeing news reports about people in China that have dogs, love dogs. They send their dogs to a luxury kind of spa. Literally 20 years ago, they were barbecuing these motherfuckers alive.
Yeah, well, they still do that.
Yeah, and probably do in rural parts. In parts of Asia, it's just if it moves and it has eyes, it's food. And that's just not something I'm ever going to get behind. Stokes up a bit of my xenophobia.
Oh, man.
But, yeah. Well, this has been pretty good. We've done 2 hours so far. What do you think?
I think I've drank enough coffee here, man.
Wired.
Probably going to have to take off. I'm wired.
Well, let's call it for now, and then we'll come back. We'll do it again. We'll tell some more stories because I love hearing about Turkey, and I love hearing about just how interesting you are and how busy you stay because you broke the mold of without ever having to go be a complete home bum or what. Like you didn't get forced. You were just actively curious, and you became sort of an interesting person on your own. This is what this podcast is all about: is having people on that broke the mold, break the rules, and go against popular belief just for the hell of it, just to see where the edges of our fucking cages are, see where.
Oh, yeah. I really appreciate you, Ben, and the other people you're talking to. It's great. I think there's something that's really underrated, and it's in the human spirit, the fuck it attitude. It's like you're gonna, don't do that because I'm gonna lose my money and I'm gonna do, or that's not gonna work out. And people just fuck it anyway. I'm doing it. Or like they they outlawed tobacco in the Ottoman Empire, and they were executing people for smoking tobacco. They were going to hang some people for smoking tobacco, and in the audience, you have people smoking their pipes. I mean, just fuck it. It's like, this is insane. Fuck it. This is,
sucks for
if
him.
you're going to be that crazy, I'm going to say fuck it and do whatever I want. So,
Yeah. The hypocrisy. Otherwise, you'll never be able to challenge the hypocrisy or find out that that things aren't as they seem. I can't tell you how many parking tickets and shit I never paid. Like, you gotta question things more. But yeah, all right. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna wave goodbye to everybody. We'll say next time.
All right. Peace, everybody.